What's up, guys? In this video I'm going to show you how to use a kick making plugin called Bazzism, and we're going to be making a kick. I'm going to be explaining how to go about doing that. So this is our user interface right here, and the basic DNA of a kick is a sine wave sweep, and there's a frequency start, which is the F start, and the frequency end, which is the end frequency, which is the fundamental. So these are both in hertz. So if we have, say, 20 hertz start, 20 hertz end, you'll notice right here that we just have a sine wave. It's not particularly exciting or anything like that. It's not necessarily a kick. It's just a sine wave that starts and stops. So let's figure out our frequency start. So higher values will be a more punchy kick. Higher, like quote unquote extreme values would be a psytrance kick. I'll probably give you that example a little bit later. But as we increase, and you'll notice this readout here, as we increase these, the frequency of the first sine wave will squish together. So it'll go from a really high frequency, a lot of sine waves, a lot of the sines squished together, and then it goes out, and that is essentially our sweep. So we need to figure out a frequency end, which is the fundamental of the kick. So if we hit this little music note, you can adjust this per hertz if you want, but that is this useful little music note, and I want the track to be in G, like the kick to be in G. A lot of kicks are in G. Don't ask me why. It's a lot of bass. The clubs handle it well. I don't know. But 49 hertz fundamental of a kick is what we want. We'll select that. We'll notice that it changes. So let's give that a listen. And already that sounds pretty kicky. Right? It sounds fantastic. And as we bring up our frequency start, it becomes more and more punchier. So I'll give you an example. Not so punchy, like, old drum machiney, not that exciting. It's basically sweeping from 1880, it's a good year, to 49 hertz, right? Very quickly. So we'll just bring that up. Right? This can be tuned to any one thing, but generally it's just the click of the kick. It's one of the DNA aspects of a kick. It's the click, frequency start, frequency end. So we have our sweep time, which is the amount of time it takes for the frequency start to turn into the frequency end, and this is in milliseconds. Right? So we can have super long, and this would be that little punchy bit would be kind of psytrancey. The filter sweeps for psytrance kicks are very, exaggerated, quote unquote exaggerated. We'll have this not down here. We'll have it somewhere in the middle. Yeah, the time sweep is generally the feel of your kick. You want it to be short. You don't want it to be too long. I want it about there. All right, and the sweep is kind of the start and stop time of that. Kind of exaggerated. It's a bit. It exaggerates it a bit more. Right. We can kind of calm that down. So these two control how the frequency start turns into the frequency end. If that makes any sense. Right. So here's where the kind of shaping bit comes in. The T end. This is how long the kick is. We don't want it too long, so I want to leave it there. We can see in our readout that it's just the higher frequency sine swept down, controlled by these two, to the ending, and this is the fundamental. This is in G. But it kind of starts and stops, and it's a uniform kind of leveled, like, sausage thing. Like, there's no dynamics to it. There's no decay. And so what we can do is we can add a decay, right? And we really want a decay because we don't want the sine to be ending like halfway through its cycle. That's not a pleasing thing to listen to. So we'll increase the delay, and you can see that up here, right? We have somewhat of a triangle, a linear decay. So now our kick has a decay. Pretty cool. Say we want to change the length of our decay. I'll increase this here. Right. So this is an exaggerated decay. I want to change my decay type. Right now it's linear. It's from like start to bottom, very linear. We can change that to exponential. So you'll notice that instead of going straight down, it kind of curves like curved automation, right? Still starts and ends at the same time, but it kind of gets extruded spaghettification going on here. And a fun fact: this is why certain compressors sound the way they do, because they use a varying degree of exponential gain reduction dependent on the transient and the ratio to get that sound. And that's why, that's why they're kind of expensive. Anyway, so I'm going to have a mixture of linear and exponential. I'm going to make my kick a bit more shorter. All right, so I have that. It's a lovely kick. Also, you have your volume here and your distortion here. We don't want that. We don't want that for now. So yeah, let's go to the envelope. So the envelope is, you have your decay and all that, but say you want to get right in. So if you look at a lot of kicks, it's not so much, they're very dynamic. They have a lot going on. So in this envelope here, I'm going to double click to add a few points. And you'll see here that I'm going to be changing that around. This is basically really fast automation. Actually, I'm going to play it and I'm going to shape it to the way that I want it to, and I'm going to explain what I kind of did. All right. So if you look at a lot of kicks, you can do this in LFO tool with the scope. Like when the click of the kick happens, there's a gain reduction. There's like the oomph. So you kind of segregate the kick. There's the click and then the oomph of the kick. Right? There's a click and then the oomph. So this is the click right here, which is all those frequencies squished together, and then the oomph is the fundamental of the kick. And this kind of segregates them and makes it sound a bit more pleasing, gives it a bit more space. And modern kind of kicks, that's what they look like. And you do that by just adjusting the envelope and kind of shaving it out. And if you want to go really crazy, you can kind of distort this area, saturate this area right here, just this, to give it a bit more punch. Which brings me to the next little menu here. We can add a filter. Or not a filter. We can add some white noise. And the thing about white noise is it's basically all frequencies. So if you have that at the beginning of the kick, it will kind of cut through the mix on all frequencies. It's a fun way of doing something. So basically you have your volume, your filter, your cutoff, your resonance, and your decay. So what we'll do, and we can map it to the main envelope, but we won't do that because I just kind of want it at the beginning. So I'm going to bring the volume up until it's kind of audible. right? So that white noise is playing right at the beginning here. And how you make it kind of sit is you adjust the decay. I want it really fast. Want it really fast to have that click of that kick, the punch of the kick, or whatever you want to call it. I want that to poke through the mix. And that's basically our eccentric looking kick. Um, Exaggerated in a few ways, but not really. Um, hope you hope you learn stuff. Take care and have a good one.